For this week's Touch Base in Seoul, we are joined by an artist, photographer, and environmentalist from Kazakhstan who is currently based in Bali. Her shots capture humans connecting with nature, especially through the matter of water. She uses her work as a way to inspire appreciation for Earth as well as ourselves. To tell us more about her work, the creative process, and her solo exhibition, which is currently being held here in Seoul, we are very pleased to welcome to the show via video call, Natalie Karpushenko. Hello, Natalie, and thank you for coming on the show.
Hello, thank you for inviting me.
Excellent.
Yeah, I'm very happy.
Wonderful. Okay, so let's start here. Let's go all the way back to the beginning of your career. Now, I believe that you brought your first camera when you were 20 years old. Was that when you started photography, like professionally? Or was there a period before this where you knew that, all right, this is what I want to do. I am a photographer. This is what I do. This is what I will do for the rest of my life. What was that key moment?
Yes, actually, it was way earlier. I started shooting when I was maybe 10 years old.
Hmm.
So my dad gave me the film camera, and I was already shooting my classmates, my animals, my cats. So I was just shooting everything around. And at 20, I already started to do it commercially, but I was doing it all my life as a hobby.
Yes, and as a matter of fact, since you mentioned the age of 20, according to your website, you began traveling around the world as well at that age. Could you tell us why you decided to travel all around the globe?
I was born in Kazakhstan, and of course, I wanted to go as far as I could to just discover new languages, new cultures, new landscapes, and I was very interested in that. And I think traveling is inspiring in any case, and it gives you new perspectives of other people's world, and it's kind of letting you live many different lives in different countries.
Excellent.
So yeah, it's a lot of inspiration coming from that.
Brilliant. Okay, and as a matter of fact, during these travels of yours, your initial travels, and I believe it still holds to this day, but there are three key elements which govern your work, which just go through the entire body of work of yours. But they are nature, and especially the element of water, and of course humanity. Could you elaborate more on these discoveries?
Mm, I always loved watching different program about the nature in my childhood. I dreamt to swim with the whales. I watched and I learned about ocean a lot. And basically our planet, it's not really planet Earth, it's more planet ocean. So what we have more in our life, it's the water in our nature, and we are all came from the water, and that's quite inspiring because it's our element and we exist because of water, and in our body the majority is the water. So I think it's just beginning of the beginning, and yeah, it's natural, and I believe to come back to ourselves, we need to come back to our beginnings. And originally, all the life creatures came out from the water.
Exactly. It's very interesting that you say you actually use the term hashtag planet ocean, right? I think too many of us who
Right.
live on land are not that much aware of the fact that indeed water is the most dominant material matter slash matter when it comes to what composes our wonderful planet. And if you think about it, a couple of years ago, of course, on Netflix, there was that huge documentary by the name of Seaspiracy, right? And ever since then, I think there are more and more
Yeah.
people who are now showing interest in what exactly is happening to our waters and why our waters are so important, not just for the waters themselves, but for us on land. In other words, the entire planet. Okay. Now, on that note, photography is one thing. Now, all our listeners, the listeners of our show that is know that I'm actually a culture critic and I'm also a curator What not that many people know is that I'm also the co-founder of Sea Shepherd Korea. And if there's anyone out there who's not familiar with that term, Sea Shepherd is, of course, the Global Marine Ecosystem Conservation Society. I am the co-founder of the Korean branch of that society. And the reason why I'm mentioning all this is because photography as an art is challenging enough. But to exercise that underwater with wild marine animals, I think that takes the challenge to a whole nother level, right? So what are the considerations? What are the variables that you're looking at, you're paying attention to a little bit keener when it comes to shooting your underwater shots?
This is indeed very difficult shoot to plan. You cannot plan, okay, at that light, the whale gonna go from the right side, I put the person from the left side and capture the perfect moment. Of course not, because there's so many different things that have to come together that all this to happen. It's kind of the mostly the luck, I would say, and you need to do it maybe 50 times, and one time you will be lucky enough to capture it. So you will have the connection with the whale, the water clarity would be perfect, the light would be nice, the camera would work. Sometimes you underwater cameras, they're a bit like with housing, sometimes you press the button and they don't work. Also it happens, or focus doesn't work. So many things should come together to really capture the moment. I think only people who are being underwater and shooting underwater that can understand the difficulty, but it's the challenge, and that's why I want to do it more and more, because it's not that simple, right? And for me, I'm not that interested to capture just a whale itself, just the wild animals. I'm more fascinated by the connection between a human and a whale, because the connection, it's something what is already going on and you just capturing it. It's the magic that's already happening there, and you kind of like, okay, wow, this is happening, I captured this moment. So to me, this is magical, and this is something unique, and that's, you cannot fake it, it's just there.
Exactly. It's uh, and on that note, I mean, because if you think about it, even taking photography on land can be challenging enough. For example, poor weather conditions, or there's always some kind, maybe some stranger who's being a little bit too nosy, if you will, and these kind of situations. But to deal with these kind of uncertainties underwater, I think is just a whole nother challenge. Would it be
Yeah,
possible?
imagine,
I'm sorry, please go ahead.
imagine. Also, I shoot mostly nude, so also people must be feeling shy and cold and any other kind of discomfort. So it's plus, 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 plus many things. Challenge for everybody in this case, I think.
Because you just mentioned how the nudity in your photography, I just want to remind our listeners that I had the absolute pleasure of actually appreciating your work here at your show. And we'll talk about that in a little bit more detail in just a bit. But at the exhibition hall, I read your statement where the reason why you find nudity in your art so important is because if you think about it, human beings are the only natural creatures which have apparel on. We are the only ones who have the culture of apparel, right? Whereas all
Yeah.
the other creatures on our planet don't necessarily go that way. So for you as an artist and environmentalist to express that connection, the significance of connection between humans and non-humans, it's important for you in quite a few of your works to go nude. And I found that, as a matter of fact, rather profound and inspiring. Okay. Now, we talked about the obstacles when it comes to shooting underwater and all that stuff. Clearly there has to be some kind of a reason you are deliberately going through all this trouble, right? What is the message when it comes to exercising this particular style of art?
Um, yeah, as I said, I think the message that many people who lives in the cities, they kind of forget about nature, about the oceans, and that we are a big part of it, and we're not really separated from that. We belong to the ocean belongs to us. We need whales, we need sharks, we need it's all the whole system, and we are part of it. And I feel like when I myself live in the city and I don't see all these things, and because I moved to Bali and spent my last 3 years literally in the ocean, and I see it a lot. I see how dolphins die, because of the plastic. I see it really, how it's happening and how fast it's happening, and it's very sad. And I believe in humanity, and I believe just most of the people, they're not aware. And if more people would be aware, of course, more people would take an action, more people would make little changes. So that's, I feel, my kind of mission and the goal, to just open the side of nature in an artistic way. There is many, like this movie, for example, it's kind of harsh, and sometimes people, they don't want to look at the cruelty and harsh things, ugly things, which is even the reality. But I wanted to go from the side of art, so it looks beautiful, but it has a purpose, so more people can look at it with a pleasure.
Exactly. And I was actually speaking of that while I was appreciating your work at the exhibition hall. I was also paying attention to how the other viewers were responding to your work. And I think in that sense, they were all really abiding by your entire spirit of what exactly you were trying to do through your art. So congratulations on that. And hopefully this will bring some positive change to the world. All right, let's talk about that wonderful solo show in a little bit more detail right now. It opened here in Seoul at a venue called Ground Seesaw Songsu. It opened at the end of last year, December 23rd, to be a little bit more exact. A huge congrats on that one. And it's going to run through May 7th this year. Could you tell us more about this particular show? And question number 2 on that would be, why did you decide to display your work here in this part of the world?
Thank you so much. Yes, I'm actually very happy how it all came to reality, how it happened, and how big is it, how massive is it. I was very surprised when I came to Seoul and I entered my own exhibition. I had a full body of goosebumps, and how the team worked is just something amazing. And to be honest, why I choose Korea, I never did. I never did. The producers, they texted me that they wanted to do this exhibition, and I was at the moment in the boat somewhere far in Papua Raja Ampat, and I was like reading this message 1 year ago, and I was absolutely happy because that was my biggest dream. And to think about city as Seoul, I was thinking that it's exactly the city that needed this kind of exhibition, and which was confirmed by the visitors, because many of the visitors in Seoul came to me and said, okay, this exhibition brought me peace, and that's what we need in the big cities. And I think it's everything just came aligned at that moment. And yeah, I'm happy that in such a cities we can build a little bit of nature in the museum and give people the feeling of swimming with the whales. Because as you notice, the exhibition hall was created that way, that it takes you underwater with the sound, with the light. The floor is on the exhibition is also looks like water with the reflection. So yeah, I think they did a very great job, and I'm pretty happy with it.
Lovely, lovely. And that's something that I actually didn't think about that much in detail. Now everything makes so much more sense after having listened to what you just said about the whole entire mise en scène of the exhibition hall, if you will. Yeah, it kind of actually felt like I'm exploring underwater and engaging with all these different creatures and the human activities, the possibilities of far better human animal relationships than the one we've cultivated so far, and unfortunately not that much of an ethical fashion. So yeah, I'm very happy to know that the production team really met your expectations, and therefore you were really satisfied. The artist herself was very satisfied with the final outcome. Okay, so you just said that you're very, very pleased to do this show here in Korea, but of course, I have a very good feeling, and especially after this show, that there will be many other places across the globe where they would just love to have you over and do a show similar to what's happening right here in Seoul. But on that note, what are your plans for the rest of this year? What are your plans for the future? If you can share any information regarding that with us, please do so.
Of course, yeah, I never can stop. I think I want to just film and create more and more future exhibitions. For now, my plan to go swim with the whales and film some more with the whales, because during the COVID I could not really do it, and now everything is reopened. Tonga is reopening, so I'm gonna run few trips in Tonga to swim with the whales, which actually many people can also join me. I'm also just a whale guide, and I plan to film in Mauritius, and I'm going to Japan soon. So I'm traveling a lot and planning future bigger projects. As you know, I achieved something. I came to my own exhibition. I was like, okay, I did something. I can do even better. I cannot really stop. I need to do more and more and more. And yes, I want to move more into video production at the moment. I want to do short films because I realized that with the video, maybe you've seen my short video, but we can share with the video more. With the music and moving images can tell more stories than photographs.
I think that's
So
actually
my
really, yes, that's
yeah.
actually, sure, that's actually really brilliant. And plus the fact that, there's a certain demographic which doesn't necessarily go to art exhibitions too often, but do frequent movie theaters. So for that demographic, I think presenting a film which discusses this a really important subject matter would be a phenomenal thing to do, and I'd be really expecting to appreciate your film as well. Okay, well, I think that's all the time we have for this interview. And Natalie, thank you so much for your precious time. I believe that currently we had this conversation while you are in Geneva. I'm assuming that you're there for some really important things to do. So I wish you nothing but the best with that and everything else. And hopefully we'll be able to once again touch base here in Seoul next time.
Yes, thank you so much for inviting. I'm very happy to speak with you this morning. And yeah, I hope to see you on my exhibition. I'll maybe come back in May
Excellent.
to Seoul.
All right, great. That was the globally acclaimed visual artist and environmentalist, Natalie Karpushenko.